There's a list you never wrote, and you've been living on top of it since June. In construction, there's a moment near the end of a project when a building is finished enough to use but not finished enough to sign off. Somebody walks the whole place with a clipboard, not to admire it, not to condemn it. They open every door, run every tap, flip every switch, and write down what was left open. The trades call it the punch list. The building has been standing the whole time. People have been living in it, cooking in it, sleeping in it, and the list is still real. That walkthrough is what today is. The sun spent its last hours at the very end of Leo and crossed into Virgo tonight. Hours before that crossing, the moon made its final aspect out of Sagittarius, a trine to the sun at 29 degrees and 46 minutes, both of them sitting at the identical minute of arc in two different fire signs, as if the sky had lined up a ruler. Then the moon went void for about 28 minutes, that small unmarked gap where nothing new gets formed, and slid into Capricorn. A word on why that matters, since aspects usually get talked about loosely. Two planets are said to be in aspect when they're within a certain distance of the exact angle, and that allowance is called the orb. Most of the time, you're working with something that's close enough. This one wasn't close enough. It was exact to the arc minute, and it was the last thing the moon did before leaving fire behind entirely. Then, that void stretch, which sounds ominous and isn't. A void moon simply means no further aspects before the sign change. Old texts described it as a period where nothing much comes of what's begun. 28 minutes of the sky holding its breath, and then a hard turn into the most structural sign there is. Read that sequence slowly, because it only looks like trivia until you notice the shape of it. Both lights left fire for Earth inside the same afternoon, under 6 hours apart. Whatever the last 2 months were being run on, the fuel changed twice in one evening. Fire signs keep things alive. That's the job. Leo season keeps the thing lit, keeps you willing, keeps you performing, keeps the momentum on even when the underneath is a mess. Sagittarius keeps the story wide enough that you don't have to look at any one part of it too closely. Earth signs don't do that. Earth asks a smaller, ruder question. Does it work? Not is it beautiful, not is it meaningful, not are you proud of it. Does the switch turn on the light? Two things stop this from being a total tonal switch, and they're worth knowing so you don't expect the wrong week. Leo doesn't empty out. Jupiter is still sitting there in the middle of that sign, and it stays there for months, which means the expansive, generous, slightly theatrical part of this year is not over. What ended tonight is the sun's emphasis, not the whole flavor. And Saturn is retrograde in Aries, moving backwards over ground it already covered, direct again in December. Retrograde motion is apparent, not literal, but symbolically it's the difference between a fresh exam and a regrade. Nothing new is being assigned. Something already handed in is being looked at again. Put those together, and the shape of the next few weeks gets clearer. You're not being asked to become a different person. You're being asked to go back through work already done and check it against what it was supposed to do. So here's the thing about your summer that I think nobody says out loud. You weren't avoiding anything. You were operating on a temporary permit. There's a real document in building called a temporary certificate of occupancy. It means the place is safe enough to occupy, while a specific set of items remains open. You're allowed to move in. You're allowed to sleep there. It's legal, it's normal, it's how almost every project actually goes. But the permit has an expiry, and the expiry isn't a punishment. It's just the date the open items stop being deferred and start being due. That's what changed in the sky tonight. Not your worth, your permit. And this is where most people hurt themselves unnecessarily, so I want to hand you the distinction before you start walking your own rooms. An inspector doing a walkthrough writes down defects. An inspector does not write down preferences. If the trim would have looked better in a different color, that's not on the list. If the tile isn't the one they'd have chosen, not on the list. What goes on the list is the door that doesn't close, the outlet with no power, the drain that holds water. The standard is function, not taste. Almost nobody audits their own life that way. When people finally sit down and look at what they let slide, they don't write a punch list. They write an indictment. 90% of it is preference dressed up as failure. I should be further along. I should want different things. I should be the kind of person who enjoys this. None of that is a defect. That's someone else's color of trim, living rent-free in your head, and it clogs the list so badly that the 4 things genuinely not working get buried under 40 things that were never broken. So when you do this, and you will do it this week, whether or not you plan to, keep asking one question. Is this not working? Or is this just not the version I pictured? Now let's actually walk the rooms. There are usually 7 places the open items collect. See which ones make you flinch. The first is a physical space you've stopped seeing. Not a dirty one necessarily, a neutralized one. There's a corner, a drawer, a seat in your car, a shelf, a whole room in some cases, that your eyes now skip the way you skip a familiar road sign. You stopped registering it around the time it stopped being solvable in 5 minutes. What's interesting is that space is almost never about mess. It's a physical archive of a decision you haven't made. Look at what's in it, and you'll usually find the objects belong to a life you've either outgrown or haven't started yet. The second is a message you haven't answered. You know exactly which one. It's been sitting there long enough that answering it now requires acknowledging how long it sat, which is why it keeps not getting answered. Here's the part worth understanding. The delay has become the message. Whatever you originally would have said has been quietly replaced by what your silence has been saying instead. Virgo's season is unusually good at this specific repair because the reply doesn't need to be graceful, it needs to be sent. Third is the item you have been calling September. Everyone has one. The appointment, the form, the conversation, the number you haven't looked at. You didn't decide not to do it. You decided to do it later, and later was a real place with a real address, and you've now arrived. There's a strange relief available here that people don't expect. The dread of the undone thing is almost always heavier than the thing. Fourth is a yes you gave in a completely different mood. Somewhere in early summer, with a different energy in your body and a different set of hours in your week, you agreed to something. A commitment, a favor, a role, a standing arrangement. It fit the person you were in that week. The question now is not whether you were wrong to say yes. You weren't. The question is whether the arrangement still does what it was supposed to do for both people, and whether anyone has checked in on it since the day it was made. Fifth is work you called finished because you were tired of it, not because it was done. This one stings a little. There's a piece of work, a project, a task, an application, something with your name attached, that you closed out at 80% because the last 20% was boring and nobody was watching. Virgo's actual talent is not perfectionism, whatever the internet says. Its talent is caring about the part nobody sees. Not because someone will inspect it, because you'll know. and knowing quietly changes how you carry yourself into the next thing. Sixth is a relationship where you've been holding all the maintenance. You're the one who suggests, remembers, initiates, patches, checks in, smooths over. It works, that's the problem. Systems that run on one person's constant small effort look identical to healthy systems right up until that person stops. You're not being asked to stop as a test or a punishment. You're being asked to notice honestly whether you've been calling something mutual that has actually been one-directional for a while. Seventh is your own daily rhythm. The hours you keep, when you eat, when you stop, how many days in a row you've run on the same borrowed energy without ever fully coming down. Late summer does this to people. The evenings stretched, everything ran late, and the shape of a normal day dissolved. This is Virgo's home territory, the ordinary repeating structure of a life, and the smallest correction here tends to outperform every dramatic gesture you could make in the other 6 areas combined. Worth saying plainly, because this is the area where people get talked into extremes. The correction that works is usually embarrassingly modest. 1 hour earlier. One thing prepared the night before. One evening, a week that isn't spoken for. Nothing that would look impressive if you described it to anyone. The reason the modest version wins is that it survives a bad week, and the ambitious version never does. A system you only follow when you're at your best isn't a system, it's a mood, and moods have been unusually unreliable since the middle of summer. There's something else running underneath all 7 of those, and it isn't astrological at all, which is exactly why it's worth naming. Anyone who has ever been in a school system has a second new year buried in their nervous system, and it lands right about now. Not January. Now. New shoes, new folders, new seating plan, the annual sense that you get to be slightly different from the person you were in June. Most adults never uninstalled that. It's why the last week of August produces such a specific flavor of restlessness, and why so many people quietly decide their entire year was a write-off during a week when nothing has actually gone wrong. The sun changing signs into Virgo lands on top of that buried calendar every single year, and the two get confused constantly. The sky is asking for maintenance. The old-school reflex hears it as reinvention. So you sit down to sort out one drawer and end up planning a whole new personality by midnight, which is exhausting and never survives the weekend. Keep them separate. The season is not asking you to start over. It's asking you to finish. Now, one thing to expect over the next couple of days, because it will save you from misreading yourself. The sun changed signs tonight. Mercury didn't. Mercury is still back in Leo for another 2 days, still sitting near Jupiter's part of the sky, which means the mind stays in performance mode a little after the season has already turned practical. In real terms, your first few attempts at sorting anything out this week will come out as a speech. You'll sit down to fix something small and find yourself narrating a whole story about who you are and what it means about your life. That's not a flaw. That's the lag between the season and the mind. Let the speech happen, then go back and do the small thing anyway. Then Mercury crosses into Virgo, and about 2 days after that, it meets the Sun at the exact same degree. 4 degrees and 27 minutes of Virgo, a conjunction so close that traditional astrology has a separate word for it. Cazimi, in the heart of the Sun. Old texts treated a planet in that position as a message delivered directly, without interference. Whatever you're circling now tends to arrive as one clean sentence around then. Not a revelation. A sentence. Usually short, usually already half known, usually the thing you'd have said days earlier if anyone had asked you plainly. And tomorrow, the moon in Capricorn stands opposite Mars in Cancer, both at just under 8 degrees. Expect friction with a short fuse, particularly around who's doing what and who's owed what. Here's the reframe that makes it useful. On a walkthrough, the sticking door is not an insult to the house. It's information. It's the exact thing the walkthrough exists to find. If you get irritated tomorrow over something small, don't file it under proof that you're difficult. File it as a location. Irritation is often the only reliable map you have to where an item has been sitting open too long. Then, in 6 days, a full moon at almost 5 degrees of Pisces opposite the Sun in Virgo, with the Sun also making a hard angle to Uranus in Gemini. That's the emotional half of the equation catching up with the practical half. Virgo makes the list. Pisces asks what the list is costing you. Both are necessary. The list without the feeling turns into self-surveillance, and the feeling without the list turns into another season of the same conversation. You'll get both this week, in that order, which is honestly the kinder sequence. So here's what I'd actually do with the next few days, offered as reflection, not instruction. Pick 3 items, not 17. 3. One that takes under 10 minutes, one that takes an afternoon, and one that only takes a decision. The 10-minute one buys you evidence that you're a person who closes things. The afternoon one changes the physical facts of your life. The decision one is usually the whole reason the other 2 got stuck, and write them down somewhere with a beginning and an end. A list you keep in your head isn't a list, it's a low hum. Part of why you've been so tired lately is that you've been running open items in memory, all of them, all summer, at all times. The relief of writing something down has almost nothing to do with productivity. It's that your attention finally gets permission to put the thing down. One more thing, because I don't want to leave you with the wrong emphasis. The title of this says, "What you ignored won't survive, Virgo." And I mean it, but not the way it sounds. Nothing is coming to punish you. What's ending is the ability to keep something both unresolved and out of view at the same time. That's the specific thing this season removes. You can still choose to leave an item open. What you can't do anymore is not know it's there. That's not a threat. That's the return of something you've been low on since June, which is accurate information about your own life. And accurate information has a way of being much gentler than the fog it replaces. The fog says everything is slightly wrong. The list says 4 things are open and 3 of them take under an hour. Almost every time somebody finally writes the real inventory down, the dread turns out to have been larger than the total. Not always. Sometimes there's one heavy item on there and you already knew its name before you picked up the pen. But even then, a named weight sits differently on your shoulders than an unnamed one. I'd also say this, since the next few weeks will tempt you toward the opposite. An audit is not a personality. Some people meet this season by turning into a permanent inspector of themselves, checking and rechecking and never signing anything off. That's not thoroughness. That's the same avoidance wearing a more respectable outfit. A walkthrough ends. Someone closes the clipboard, hands over the keys, and everybody goes to dinner. Build the ending into how you do this, or the list will quietly become the new thing you're ignoring. Leo season asked you to be seen. It did its job, and there was something real in it. This one asks a quieter question, one that doesn't get applause and doesn't post well. What would it be like if the parts nobody checks were actually in good shape? You get to answer that at whatever pace you want. You get to decide which items make the list and which ones you're finally allowed to cross off, as preference, not defect. Nobody else is holding that clipboard but you. If you're going to do this, do it kindly. Walk the rooms like someone who lives there, not like someone looking for a reason to condemn the building. It is a good building. It's been standing through a lot. And if this landed somewhere specific, tell me which of the 7 you flinched at. I read the comments properly, and the honest ones tend to help somebody else who scrolls past later and realizes they've got the same door that won't close. Take the next few days slowly and take them in order. Fix one small thing tonight, something with a clear finish line, something you can genuinely complete before you sleep rather than start and leave standing. Then let the season do what it does best, which is show you, without drama and without cruelty, exactly where you actually stand.